Jeremy Corbyn elected as leader of the Labour Party.
Jeremy Corbyn was elected to the Labour leadership in 2015, promising a kinder politics. But before long, his party became engulfed in allegations of anti-Semitism. The MP Naz Shah was suspended for anti-Semitic social media posts made before she became an MP. And the former mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, worsened tensions further when he said Adolf Hitler had at one point supported Zionism.
Why is Adolf Hitler a vote winner, sir?
Labour hoped an inquiry by the former director of the Liberty pressure group, Shami Chakrabarti, would nullify the issue. But it didn't, not least because she was later made a Labour peer with a place in Corbyn's shadow cabinet.
There will be plenty of time in the months ahead to debate.
Then, in 2018, there were questions for the party leader himself when it emerged that 6 years earlier he had supported an artist whose anti-Semitic mural was facing removal. Jewish groups protested outside Parliament against the party's handling of anti-Semitism and faced a counter-demonstration. Things were made worse when Labour went on to adopt a new code on anti-Semitism, but not the one drawn up by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. A joint front page by 3 Jewish newspapers condemned the party's handling of the issue. Eventually, the IHRA definition was adopted. Throughout, the Labour leadership insisted that the anti-Semitism was the work of a mere handful of members and that they were committed to eliminating the problem. But the issue didn't go away. In February last year, 7 MPs resigned. Among their complaints, the party's handling of the issue. For those MPs who remained, the way in which the party had dealt with it became a fault line between the party's different factions.
They might not call me a dirty Jew, but they'll call me a dirty Zionist.
In a BBC Panorama programme in July last year, former party workers claimed that senior figures close to the party leadership had interfered in the handling of complaints over anti-Semitism.
I do not think the Labour Party is a safe space for Jewish people anymore.
Labour denied the claims and said the former staff were disaffected and that they had personal and political axes to grind. But today, the whistleblowers emerged from court victorious. They will receive substantial damages from the Labour Party because of what it said after the broadcast. The whistleblowers also received an unreserved apology. However, the former leader hasn't said sorry. He had this to say today: "The decision to settle these claims in this way is disappointing and risks giving credibility to misleading and inaccurate allegations about action taken to tackle anti-Semitism in the Labour Party in recent years." He was supported by other Labour left-wingers like Unite General Secretary Len McCluskey. Today in Parliament, discussing another checkered Corbyn legacy, in this case the Salisbury poisonings, Starmer told the Prime Minister this:
"In case the Prime Minister hasn't noticed, the Labour Party is under new management."
He could just as easily have been talking about what happened in court today.
That was Lewis Goodall, and joining us now, Margaret Hodge, the veteran Labour MP, a leading voice against anti-Semitism during the Corbyn years. James Mills, a senior advisor to Jeremy Corbyn and Director of Communications for John McDonnell. But first to Mark Lewis, the lawyer representing those whistleblowers in court earlier today. And Mark, you settled one case this morning. We understand you've now been instructed to take further action. Is that right? Can you tell us what's happening?
That's correct. I mean, I've seen the front page of today's Jewish newspaper, and it highlighted very clearly the difference between 2 leaders. Keir Starmer, I'm sorry. Jeremy Corbyn, I'm not sorry. And an apology, a heartfelt apology, a full apology was made in court, and it was completely undermined immediately afterwards by Jeremy Corbyn, saying he's not sorry, that he'd been advised, or the Labour Party had been advised, that there were good defences, as if to say there was an apology to you, but we had our fingers behind our backs.
So just to clarify then, it's specifically over the statement that Corbyn issued after today's ruling. That's where your instruction has come now?
That's in respect of one issue is in relation to the libel is effectively repeated. What the public had been told, what the ordinary reader has been told, is that those settlements were not legal settlements. They were done out of a pragmatic response to say, we're getting rid of those cases but those people ought to have lost those cases.
And I'm guessing that with the settlement that Keir Starmer made, the Labour Party hoped to have drawn a line under the events of the past. Is this the end of your action against the party, or does it go further in other cases now?
Well, the libel case in respect of the Panorama against the party has gone now. There are other cases against the party in respect of the leaked report, which has been mischaracterised, misquoted. It's a very factional report, and there are 32 people who have instructed me to take action. Their actions are in respect of data breaches, misuse of private information, libels. It's like an exam question for a libel lawyer to look through them and see how many claims you can find.
Sorry, you've got 32 new people, or 32 more people taking action against the party. Can you give us any names?
Well, Lord McNichol is one of the people who is taking action, who has been named in the report. There are many other people who are named in the report. They come under different categories: people who work for the party, people who were in the party in political positions.
So sorry to interrupt. Are you talking about Ian McNichol, the General Secretary? What is he claiming for?
Well, Lord McNichol, Ian McNichol, as you call him, is named in the report and is blamed for things that simply didn't happen. It's a mischaracterisation of a report which is being taken on. And what has been prepared as a report is a very factional basis, which is incredibly edited, incredibly slanted, incredibly misleading. And of course, the far left are quoting from that as though it's some sort of gospel, as though it's the answer to everything. Obviously, the people who are quoting it haven't read the 851 pages of the report.
Can I just ask, Mark? I mean, clearly, what you're showing is that this hasn't had a line drawn under the whole affair, and yet there will be those saying, look, there is new management now. Aren't these new claims in danger, if you like, of punishing the guy who's trying to clear up the mess?
Well, that might be so, but the problem is the people, the departing generals, effectively threw lots of grenades at the bunkers that they were leaving, and those have to be sorted out. There are casualties, there are people's lives that have been ruined, people who are being attacked on social media, people who are being attacked in real life, and they have to be sorted. One of the things that Keir Starmer can do is, of course, expel the people who've been making all these cases. It doesn't really matter if they're in the Parliamentary Labour Party. If they're speaking out, they need to go.
Mark Lewis, thank you very much indeed. Let me pick up with James Mills, who clearly worked very closely with Jeremy Corbyn and with John McDonnell. I want to start, first of all, with that statement that came from Jeremy Corbyn. Should he have put that out, in your view?
Look, I would just not confuse your viewers. I'm sort of very much from the sort of draw a line under things camp and move along, and I actually welcome the settlement today because I think it sends a strong message on anti-Semitism, but also from a wider Labour Party perspective, I think dragging this on for months on end, absolutely no one wins, no one benefits from this. But I totally get why some people are angry though, and look. That's not different from Jeremy Corbyn as an individual. Obviously, rightly feels aggrieved and feels he wants to make his case and put across his case in respect to this. But it doesn't stop the Labour Party taking a more wider perspective on this from an electoral point of view.
James,
what's in the interest of the Labour Party?
He's caused an awful lot of pain to an awful lot of people, as you heard Mark say, casualties and people's lives here. Are you saying that he should still have put out that statement because he felt aggrieved?
It's right as an individual backbench MP, or an individual for that matter, to put out any statement he likes in respect to something he thinks is a challenge against him. It's his right to do that. My point is, I think from a wider Labour Party perspective, dragging this on doesn't help anyone really. I mean, I think Mark's got a good settlement for his clients. He should probably spend a bit more time rejoicing that before moving on to extra business. Look,
hang on a sec. Before you assume it's just a sort of a lawyer touting for business.
That's your word. words. I just said he should rejoice at getting a good settlement for his clients. And if my honest opinion on this, I strongly suspect that the legal opinion, what it might have been 6 months ago, has probably drastically changed since the HRC report. Now the Labour Party's seen it, and if it isn't as negative as most people suspect it would be, I don't see the futility of carrying on a case over the coming months with that backdrop, whether that be actually quite successful.
You say carrying on,
also,
but
so to one last point, I think people shouldn't forget Keir Starmer. I'm pretty sure said he was going to do this when he ran for leader, so he's well within his rights to do what he's done today.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it was the mandate he got from the people who voted him in. So
leadership candidates, I believe, in that leadership election said they were going to do this, so it's not a complete surprise.
Yeah, when you hear that there are other claimants, and when you know how close you were to running the campaign, I mean, they've destroyed the party for many of those people, haven't they? Do you think that they're right to go and try and get closure on this?
Look, as a trade unionist, I think it's quite sad that people's personal details, if you're a member of staff, have been shared and laundered in public. I don't think that's the way it should have done. Personally, I wouldn't have leaked that report. As I said, I don't think members of staff should be brought into the public gallery per se. But yeah, of course, there's going to be heartfelt things about this. My colleague and friend James Schneider put on Twitter today his account where he turned around and said that he's describing individuals that Mark represented, and he was saying that look, there was cases in particular when he's from a Jewish background. Many people actually work for Germany. There's quite a few people that were from Jewish backgrounds. He was putting across a case in particular on anti-Semitism, and he found that it was actually the party processes were slowing him down. And look, my starting position is that whistleblowers should be protected regardless of the issue. In this case, they are. If you ask me, were some of those whistleblowers, opposed to the leadership of the Labour Party? Well, of course they were. One individual has a blog so much saying so, and held a very senior position. That doesn't mean that we should not be trying to draw a line under the sand. This doesn't help the Labour Party.
Let me just ask you then, because you've got, as we said, at the beginning, Keir Starmer made it clear in the Commons today, new management. He's made a purge of anti-Semitism central to that leadership. Do you think he's doing a good job? Is he on the right track now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I welcome it. I think anyone that's in that leadership election would have made that decision today. And as I say, look, I think sending a strong message on anti-Semitism is vital. I mean, look, the Labour Party has to stop fighting itself. I'd rather come on these shows and you see me and Margaret debate policy about how we clamp down. The next Labour government's going to clamp down tax avoidance, for example, rather than us debating anti-Semitism.
Okay.
We're an anti-racist party. We need to draw a line on this and move on.
Let me bring in Margaret Hodge then. Are you going to be able to talk about tax avoidance now? Has this drawn a line under things for you?
Well, I've carried on talking about tax avoidance for the last 10 years or so that nothing will stop me doing that. But I think this is a step in the right direction. It shows that Keir Starmer just doesn't talk about things. He acts, which is what many of us have been wanting. He's tackling the scourge of anti-Semitism. He's beginning to build trust with the Jewish community, and he's showing that anti-Semitism and anti-Semites have no place in the party. But this is only a step. We have got, Emily, the EHRC that other people have referred to, the EHRC report coming out, which will have its recommendations. We have got to set up an independent complaints mechanism, as Keir Starmer has also promised. And then the probably most important and most difficult task is that over the last 5 years, anti-Semitism moved from the extremes to the centre, to the heart of the Labour Party. Well, we have to now transform that culture, and doing that takes time.
Do you think it is transformed? I mean, I'll ask you what you made of Len McCluskey saying that they shouldn't have settled. It was a misuse of Labour Party funds.
Yeah, I mean, Len McCluskey talking about the misuse of funds is a bit bizarre, but I think it's sort of obsessional on his part. I do think he is now a minority. He is in a minority. You look at Labour MPs, you look at the Labour Party, you look at the Jewish community, look at the public and their verdict on us last December. And the vast majority of people recognise that the nastiness associated with having anti-Jewish racism at the heart of the Labour Party was repulsive and didn't attract the support of anybody. So I think they are the fringe and we actually are the mainstream. But you've got to ensure, if you're serious about zero tolerance, you cannot tolerate any anti-Semitism within our ranks.
OK, so that's what I'm going to ask you now. You feel like you've got the balance back, but we all remember when the Labour Party launched action against you for calling Jeremy Corbyn anti-Semitic. Do you feel, I mean, do you let things lie now, or do you think that action should be taken against him? Would you want to see the whip removed from him? What would be your response to his statement today?
Well, to be honest, I think it's bizarre, his statement. I think it's obsessional. I think it's sort of, I cannot understand that he wants to stand on a hill and be judged by his inability and failure to tackle anti-Semitism. That's what he wants to go down fighting. It is extraordinary. I think we have to wait and see what comes with the HCR report, the Human Rights Commission report, the HRC report, and then I think we've got to take action there again. And what Keir Starmer has shown, he's shown strong leadership, he's shown determined leadership, and he's shown that he simply will not tolerate anti-Semitism wherever he finds it.
And do you think now that
the Labour Party's got to recognise that?
I mean, there was a point where this became symbolic of the whole division in the party, of the two wings. Do you now think that, the olive branch is there, that you, James Mills, people who've worked very closely with the previous administration can go back to Healy to be that one party now? Do you say it's all water under the bridge?
I welcome what James has said, and like him, I want to get back to debating issues that not are internal to the party machine, but that really are important, not party machine, internal to the Labour Party, but that really speak out.
I echo that. I echo what Margaret just said. I look forward to me, Margaret, and other members of the Labour Party going out electing Keir Starmer as Prime Minister in the next Labour government.
But can I just say one other thing to you, James? We can't do that by brushing the issue under the carpet. We've got to do it by confronting it, tackling it, and eradicating it.
I completely agree, and that's why I welcome this today. I think that we need to send strong signals, but I just don't want us to be here this time next year to talk about it.
We'll end it there. Thank you all very much indeed.